This is the video for Punnett Squares. Your learning target is I can use Punnett Squares to predict the possible genotypes and phenotypes of offspring. Our first step is to talk about how to solve them. So in your notes, I want you to draw this box. For right now, it doesn't need to be big. And what you need to know is that you're going to put the parent genes outside of the box. So you'll put one allele here and another here, and one here and another here. So it'll look something like this. So go ahead and write these letters down. So this parent genotype, the genetic makeup, is little t. So one letter goes over this box and the other goes over this box. And the other parent is a heterozygous dominant genotype. So it's big T, little t. You put a big T up here and a little t down here. And that is how you set up the Punnett square. Now each of these boxes represents the offspring. So in this box here, this could say it would be baby number one, potential baby number one. Is going to get one letter from the left and one letter from the top, representing 50% of the DNA from mom and 50% from dad. This here is potential baby number two. You're going to get a letter brought all the way over from the side and one from the top. And same thing with the 3 and 4. So you have 4 boxes. So I would take the left side first. It doesn't really matter, but you do want to get in the habit of writing the capital letter before the lowercase. So for this one, I'm going to do my capital T gets carried over here. This capital T gets carried over here. This little t goes here, and this little t goes here. So I have done, if this was the mother's, I have done the mother's genotype. Her alleles are now in the boxes. So now your next step is to take the father's alleles and bring them down. So this little t is going to go in each box here and here, and this little t is going to go here and here. So it'll look something like this. So this is how you fill in a Punnett square. We're going to do another one together, and go ahead and write this in your notes. I would set this up so it's across. I have 2 heterozygous parents. I have big A, little a, big A, little a. And a reminder that heterozygous means different alleles. Both of these parents are going to have dominant traits because you have a capital letter. And I would pause the video and see if you can fill this Punnett square in on your own before I do it with you. So this first box here gets a capital A from the top and a capital A from the side. So this is a homozygous dominant. Homozygous means same. Dominant, it has the capital letters. This box over here, I have the capital A coming over and a little a coming down. This is a heterozygous offspring, big A, little a. Same thing down here, I have the big A coming down and the little a coming across. That's a heterozygous offspring. And my last box, I have little a for a homozygous recessive. Now, how do you interpret the Punnett square? So in order to interpret the Punnett squares, we need to do a really quick review, and I've used some of these vocabulary terms already in the video. But you have heterozygous and homozygous, dominant, recessive, and genotype and phenotype. Homozygous and heterozygous. Now, homozygous means similar, so up here they're represented by the pink or purple little bands, and heterozygous is different, so yellow or orange versus green. Dominant versus recessive. Anytime you see a capital letter that is the dominant allele, you need only one of them for that trait to be dominant. And genotype and phenotype. Genotype is the genetic makeup, where the phenotype is that physical trait. So here you have a cross. I have my 2 heterozygous parents. This is the one that we had from earlier. I have capital, capital, capital little, 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 and capital little. So these are my potential offsprings. I have 4 boxes. And to double check our understanding, heterozygous is a capital and a lowercase. So that would be the parents plus 2 of the boxes here. Homozygous would be either capital, capital, or little, little, right? So 2 of the offspring would be homozygous. Anytime I'm referring to something dominant, you need a capital letter, so that could be capital K, capital, capital, or capital little, or it could be little, little. And the genotype would be the letter combinations where the phenotype is the physical trait. So what are the possible genotypes of the parent? Or what are the genotypes of the parents? They are both heterozygous. What are the possible genotypes of the offspring? You're going to tell me the number of boxes that contain the different letter combinations. So I have 1 box that's heterozygous dominant, capital, capital. I have 2 boxes. I have 1 box that is homozygous dominant. I have 1 box that is homozygous dominant, right here, capital, capital. I have 2 boxes that are heterozygous dominant, capital A, little a, capital A, little a. And I have 1 that is homozygous recessive, which is little, little. So then I would ask you, how many of my boxes are dominant? And you'd want to write that down. Do you know how many of the boxes are dominant? Can you tell me, right, that I have how many boxes with a capital letter? 1, 2, 3. So in this outcome, I would have 3 dominant and 1 recessive. What are the genotypes of the parents? So taking a look at this, can you write down the genotypes of the parents? It's capital little, heterozygous here, crossed with a homozygous recessive, little, little. What are the phenotypes of the parents? The phenotypes are the physical trait. So it's a yellow and green, right? This parent is yellow, this parent is green. What are the genotypes of the offspring? I have 2 that are heterozygous, capital little, and I have 2 that are little, little. You could also write those as 50% capital little and 50% little, little, or 50% heterozygous, 50% homozygous recessive. And the phenotypes, what are the physical traits? Right? I'm going to have 2 yellow and 2 green, or 50% chance of yellow and 50% chance of. What are the genotypes of the parents? So again, can you write this down before I tell you, or pause the video and see if you can answer these 2 questions? The parents are both heterozygous, and the phenotypes are both purple. How many of the offspring are dominant? So you're going to take a look at that box and tell me how many of the boxes are capital, right? You have 3. How many of the offspring are heterozygous? Which means different. So I have 1 here and 1 here, so your answer is 2. Now, Punnett squares are going to be tricky if you don't know those 6 terms. So in order to be able to do this learning target, which is I can use Punnett squares to predict the possible genotypes and phenotypes of the offspring, you have to know those 6 terms: heterozygous, homozygous, dominant, recessive, and genotype and phenotype. If you're at all a little confused right now, I want you to go back and make flashcards for those 6 terms that were earlier in the video and really study those, because as soon as you have those down, the Punnett squares should go pretty quickly.